Not somebody that we should be promoting as someone who other people should be trusting, giving money to, and listening to.
So do you think Brian will ever end up at a conference again?
Oh yeah, no, I'm sure he will. Because, and I think that's it's a human issue. It's not just a skeptic issue. It's a human issue. You know, we have our heroes. You know, and no matter what, like, oh, well, he made these podcasts I really love, and it doesn't really matter that he defrauded people out of money. It doesn't matter that he lied.
Well, the most common answer I get to that question actually is that he didn't defraud people. He stole from eBay.
Right.
Which almost it's like that's okay somehow. Right?
Yeah. I mean, and you know, I'm certainly about as hippie anti-corporation as it gets. But he did steal from people. You know. It's silly to go, you know, we can talk about it later if anybody's interested in what cookie stuffing is and affiliate marketing, but basically he did steal money out of the pockets of other people who do affiliate marketing using a bit of computer code. He stole, when you click on an ad for eBay, when you click on an ad, can I just yell?
Yeah. Just hold it.
Thank you. No, I'm really loud, and I don't mind being loud. Can everybody hear me right now?
Yeah.
Oh, thank God. Okay. So when you click on an ad on a website for eBay, and you go and you purchase something, the person who hosted that ad gets a portion of the sale. Sometimes a flat rate, sometimes a percentage. Brian came up with a bit of code that hijacked that, and when you went to eBay, he got the money. That's a very overly simplified way of putting it, but you can read up on it. So no, he didn't just steal from a large corporation. But by the way, that's also messed up and you shouldn't do it.
Yeah,
but also, yeah, he stole from individuals. And then he lied about it later and tried to, you know, he lied about it to his audience and pretended that it wasn't that big of a deal, that, you know, blah, blah, blah. But my point is simply that, you know, this is a human thing, though. We see it happen, you know, when we point out to Mormons that Joseph Smith was a fraud, like a convicted fraud. And the Mormons will say, well, no, those are trumped up charges. There were all these things surrounding it. And as skeptics will say, well, you're biased. You're coming from it from another point of view. If you just step back and look at it from this other perspective, you'll see. And then these same skeptics will turn around and say, let's not talk about Brian Dunning going to federal prison for fraud. That doesn't really have any bearing on what we're doing. That is a human thing to do. But, you know, as someone who, again, I have this, like, weird thing where I just love, like, critically examining the things I love. You know, it's, you know, maybe from being, like, an English lit fan and, you know, doing way too much, you know, digging into, like, critical reading stuff. That's what I do, and so it becomes difficult to support larger organizations when they don't do that. And I tend to have very high standards. But at the same time, I recognize that, you know, I got into skepticism because of the James Randi Educational Foundation, because of James Randi in particular. Center for Inquiry has so many amazing people working there that I love dearly. You know, I just moved from Buffalo. I used to go out every few weeks with Barry Carr, who works at CFI, and we would have some really great fights over beers. And, you know, I love these people dearly. And so sometimes those things are at odds. You know, do I want to support this organization? How do I support these people doing the right thing while still criticizing the wrong things they do? You know, it's difficult because of human nature. Because when you criticize something, it's often blown up into, well, you must hate that entirely, and, you know. So, but that said, I will say that, yes, I'm missing Skepticon to be here. Skepticon is an event that happens in the Bible Belt. They call it the Buckle of the Bible Belt in the United States, Springfield, Missouri. And it is ridiculous there. A few years ago, there was a gelato shop next door to the conference that on day 2 put up a sign saying they were closed because they found out all these people coming and buying their gelato were dirty atheists. I was like, damn, I like that gelato too. That delicious Christian gelato. But I love the Skepticon crew. They're a bunch of students, and they are passionate and kind, and sometimes they get things wrong, but we talk about it and we all learn from each other, and it's a positive experience. So I'll always support them, even though I'm here instead.
So if Skeptics here in Hong Kong, a lot of people in Hong Kong, particularly expats, have a chance to travel. Is there any conference that you would recommend? Is there any conference that you wouldn't recommend? Because of course there's conferences in Europe as well, right? There's QI?
QED.
QED, thanks.
Yeah, no, I've never been to QED, but they gave me an award once, so I highly recommend
That was to try and tempt you to go.
I think it might have been.
Yeah.
No, it's very kind. They're great people, group of people. As far as I can tell, I love them.
I'm trying really hard here to give you a chance to
plug Nexus.
Yeah,
is that what you want me
absolutely.
to
Yeah,
do?
that's what I want you to do.
I was getting there.
Okay.
So yeah, the Northeast Conference on Science and Skepticism.
Not just science.
Nexus is a great conference. It's in New York City, which is if you've never been to the U.S. and you're going to go to like one conference in a city, obviously go to New York. That was one of my main problems with TAM from early on. It was very funny to see these, all these foreigners would come in and they'd be like, so this is America. Look at your tiny Eiffel Tower. And it's like, this is not, no, Las Vegas is not America. But New York kind of is.
Well, it's one flight from here too.
Yeah,
It's direct.
easy. It is expensive though. That's the thing. It's expensive to
The
be in New
conference are
York.
expensive or going to New York City?
The conference is expensive and the city is expensive. The conference is, all of these large conferences unfortunately tend to be expensive because usually they are fundraising things. And
You guys had an amazing list of speakers there though.
Yeah.
Really, really good speakers there.
yeah,
Last couple years,
there's me,
yeah, there was you. That's right, I remember that. And there was Jay.
Jay,
And then there was another novella there as well.
several novellas.
Yeah, but I was actually thinking about Lawrence Krauss,
Yeah.
and the year before that was Mladeno.
Yeah, I'm allowed now.
Right,
Yeah.
and Massimo Pigliucci is there every year.
Yeah.
Right, it's actually sponsored by New York City
I love,
Skeptics.
you know all this, and I'm just like, yeah, no, that's right.
I'm trying to promote Access now. It's a great conference, and I guess the thing is, they're really motivational, aren't they?
They are. No, it really is. Like to go to a big conference and it's just exciting and it's fun and it's, it is one of the things that got me more involved was being around people, and it's not so much the lectures. The lectures are usually great, but it's the hanging out in the bar afterwards, meeting all of these people who, have ideas about, where do we go from here and what can we do, and I'm starting a Skeptics in the pub, here's what I did, and helping each other out and forming these bonds. Right now, like, all of my best friends, I think, come from people that I've met at those conferences. Yeah.
So what would it take to get you to go to TAM?
Well, they fired DJ, so that was step one.
Well, the tweet said he had stepped down.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, that's, again, like, I would have to explain a huge history.
Well, just answer for those of us who know the background.
So yeah, it's true.
You told me downstairs this was okay.
Yeah, no, I did tell you. No, it's not off limits. I'm just trying to think in terms of not boring people and explaining this in an easy to wrap your head around way. But
Okay, then let's just go with a yes or no. Do you think there's some time in the future you'll be going back to TAM?
I'd say maybe.
Okay.
I'd say maybe.
Alright.
Like right now, as far as I know, their plans are for Ray Hall to host it, and I know Ray, and he's a great guy. And obviously, I will always love Randy. Again, Randy got me involved in this community, and I think he's a truly amazing person. Like, I did not even mean to say that, but yeah, he's amazing. He's the amazing Randy, and he always will be, and I have a huge amount of respect for him. So, and also, I'm really, really good at poker. And every time, and blackjack actually, and every time I've gone to TAM, I've come away with more money than I started. So, I would like to keep that going.
Fantastic.
Like I say, this is all about the money for me.
So
It's all about the Benjamins.
So in terms of keeping things going, what's next for the XGU? Is it just 52 episodes a year, or is there something? Are we gonna at some point? Do you ever see yourself not doing the SGU, the Skeptic's Guide to the Universe? For those of you who didn't know.
Honestly, I'm not sure because yeah, there does come a time when you're doing the same thing week after week after week, and you do want to grow and explore other things. So, I mean, I don't want to tell you that I'm going to be doing it forever. I don't know that all of us are going to be doing it forever. I'll give you a scoop. I'll give you a little scoop.
Go for it.
I am working on a new podcast that I'm really excited about, that is going to be, it's a completely different sort of concept, but still going to be focused on science and skepticism. And I can't tell you anymore, but that's going to be really exciting.
Well, there's an opening at a podcast I listen to on a regular basis that's filmed in is recorded in San Francisco.
Are you speaking of Inquiring Minds?
Yeah, Inquiring Minds, exactly. So Mr. Mooney's gone now,
That's
who I
true.
love. He's fantastic, great interviewer.
Yeah, he is great. You bring this up because, Inquiring Minds is a really fantastic podcast that is produced by my partner, Adam Isaac.
And you were a guest host recently, and you did great.
I was a guest host, thank you very much. I do like doing Inquiring Minds, but it's a serious program for serious people.
It is intense.
No, it's not overly serious. Like, Indre Viscontis is the main host now, and she is awesome. If you don't know her, she's a neuroscientist opera singer. And as much as I would love to be the second host, I can never compete with that. I will never come anywhere close to being on the same level as an opera singer neuroscientist. So I love Indre, and I was with her recently. If you saw their interview they did with Adam Savage, was really awesome.
We saw the picture with you with the helmet on.
I wore his helmet. Do they have Mythbusters here in Hong Kong?
We have everything here in Hong Kong, so you just download it off the internet.
Oh, right, okay. So if you're not familiar, Adam basically blows things up on television in the United States for fun and profit, and he is one of the best people I've ever met in my life. He's just someone who's really genuinely passionate about science communication and skepticism and secularism and feminism, basically everything that I'm interested in as well. So we have bonded over those things, and he has this secret cave in San Francisco where he used to work on films doing movie props for a living, and he still does it in his spare time. So there's the alien thing that bursts out of your chest, like just sitting on a Star Trek captain's chair, things like that. It was awesome. And yeah, I tried on one of his helmets. It was cool.
And he's a brilliant skeptic as well. He really does approach everything. That whole show is about the method, right?
That's how I met him. Actually, I met him at TAM for the first time. It was the first time he had been to a skeptics conference, the first time he had ever heard of skepticism as a concept. And he had such a great time that I remember him saying at the time, I'm just going to come back every year. So eventually he got busy and had similar feelings to me as to what was happening with JREP, but he loves skepticism and is really just passionate about teaching people the scientific method and talking about things that we're all interested in a really entertaining manner.
One of the things that we said yesterday when we were on that interview was the idea that I actually don't believe that people discover skepticism. I believe that they discover they are skeptics. It's like they think a particular way, and then they meet someone who says, oh, you're a skeptic, and then suddenly they go, oh, there's a whole method, there's a whole, you can organize yourself under this kind of speaking, or this kind of thinking, Marla?
Yeah.
And so do you discover that as well? You meet people who all of a sudden just switch on when you tell them that's a kind of thinking.
Yeah, it's like there's a name for the thing I do in my head.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's a really powerful emotion. And it's something that I think skeptics have been really good at grabbing a hold of in the last 10 years or so. That's how I got involved, really, was I was a fan of James Randi as a fellow magician who was interested in debunking things like psychics. I went on his website and I saw that he had a forum, and I happened to have a friend they just made gay marriage legal in Massachusetts, about a month prior, and a friend of mine was getting married and wanted me to officiate. And so I was like, I need to know how to do a wedding as an atheist. Where do I even go to find out more about that? So I saw that he had a forum, and I'm like, this seems like a bunch of heathens. I'll ask them. So I went on, I asked my question, and they were really helpful, and I had that feeling like, oh, these feel like my people, you know? And that's how I got involved. And yeah, a lot of those people are still my friends today.
And I've heard you tell this story before. You then you went online and you found the New England Skeptical Society. You know, it was originally the Nest that was the sponsor of the SGU, right?
Yeah, so I just moved back to Boston from Seattle, and I didn't really have any friends. A lot of my friends had moved away, but by now I was on the JREF forum. I knew I was a skeptic, you know. So I Googled like Boston Skeptics, and I found the New England Skeptic Society. And there was a page that said, we meet the first Wednesday of every month at the...
Can I hold you up right there? Because this is actually a trivia question.
Oh.
Yeah, so I'm going to give away a free drink. Raise your hand if you think you know the name of the place where the New England Skeptical Society used to have their skeptics in the pub.
Oh, jeez.
Do you remember the name?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, nobody? All right, go ahead, give it to us.
Well, there are two different answers that I personally would have accepted.
Okay.
One would be the Hong Kong.
Exactly. The name of the restaurant was called the Hong Kong.
What do I win?
You win a free drink.
Yes. It was the Hong Kong at the Howard Johnson's.
How come no one else knew that? I mean,
yeah, how could you not know that?
It's an awesome piece of trivia as far as I'm concerned.
So, yeah, and I lived right down the street from there, and so I emailed them, and it happened to be that day was Wednesday, the first Wednesday, so I emailed them, and I'm like, how do I find you guys? Will there be a sign? And I got this response, I think from Steve, where he was like, oh, we haven't done that in years. And I was like, fix your website.
Yeah, no, the Nest website is definitely a mess. Has been for a long time.
Yeah, but then he said, oh, but we have, you run that website Skeptic, right? And I said, yeah. And he said, do you want to come on our podcast? And I was like, yeah, sure. What's a podcast? And so, yeah, they had me on for an interview. And then afterwards, I liken it to a first date, where afterwards they got in touch with me and they were like, so, I don't know, we had a good time. Did you have a good time? Because maybe we should do this again, like, next week? I don't know. And so, yeah, then we
So, second piece of trivia for a free drink. Raise your hand if you think you know the podcast number where Rebecca actually appeared as a rogue and not as a guest.
Oh, my God.
Oh, you guys... What? I said raise your hand. That's a fairly simple instruction. Right? Okay, in the back there?
852.
Are we...
Okay. So, all right, so clearly... Go ahead, Rachel.
689.
Okay, all right, so eventually you became a regular... Do you know?
This is like that episode of The Simpsons.
You were going to
when
win. You were going to...
comic book guy asked that question about Poochie, and Homer Simpson is like, you're a loser.
You're going to win all the free drinks.
Is it, wait, let me guess. Is it like 62 or something?
I was pretty sure it was 75. We can check later.
I was closest without going over.
You were close. So we can check later.
So I can get like a half pint maybe.
All right. So that was way back to the beginning. Now here, I want to go all the way out to the future. I want to go out 30 years from now, 50 years from now.
Okay.
60 years from now.
Robot overlords.
Yeah, exactly.
Cybernetic eyes.
Exactly.
There. All right.
Of all the things we're currently looking at now as skeptics, and I mean all, any topic, any area that you think is worth discussing, I think we could probably judge which one is the most important. If you could tell us, which one do you think is going to have the most impact 30 to 60 years from now?
30 to 60 years.
Like way out, like 2 to 3 generations from now. What's the thing that you want to see most significantly change that we can actually do? Because this group right here in Hong Kong, if Skeptics in the Pub in Hong Kong is going to get going, we're going to need a goal.
Oh.
We're going to need something that we work on. So what do you think is the big thing that we could work on now to change in the future?
Well, I mean, if you hadn't have brought in the specificity of Hong Kong.
Okay, well then drop that part.
Okay, but worldwide, absolutely, without a doubt, global warming. Like, there's no bigger issue. We are all going to die.
Well, we're not going to die. Our
We might.
offspring are
I mean,
going
no,
to
we
die.
are definitely going to die.
That's true. I'm not as a
I'm
result
so
of
sorry to
global-
tell you this
Yeah.
live during our recording.
Yeah.
But Yeah, no, absolutely global warming. And, obviously the problem with it is, again, a human problem. It's the problem that humans have of being able to judge long-term consequences against short-term gains. And, the scientific consensus shows us it's happening, it's serious, it is absolutely most likely man-made, and we may already be past the point where we can make a difference. I'm an optimist, so I reject that. And I do believe that there are ways that we can make a difference. But unfortunately, it's going to require a large-scale effort of people voting and politicians who care about this issue. The pessimist in me says that is never going to happen. And that we will eventually have to deal with it in a way that's more like dealing with the human race's convalescence rather than actually fixing the problem.
Would you go? It seems like the problem with global warming is science denialism, right? Because the people just won't listen to the science, won't agree with the science. So what can we do to better communicate the science? So is skepticism the best method, or are there other ways of communicating our skeptical philosophy?
Well,
we just always go with the hard science.
Well,
Help me choose my topics for next year.
Well, there's a vocabulary issue there because skepticism isn't the way we go about converting people, encouraging people to think critically about these issues. Skepticism is the process that we use to, process these issues. The way we actually persuade people to care about these issues, those are things that are being researched, and there is a lot of really fascinating research. Actually, Inquiring Minds has done a few interviews with people who are working on that exact thing. I think SGU, we've probably had a few people talking about this as well. If you, I'm trying to think of, there's no one resource that I can suggest to look into this. My partner would probably